'Cause that's the cash. Things are great when I forget about the consequences attached to your name. Hold my hand, run away, let's forget about everything in this fairy tale. 'Cause that's the cash. Things are great when I forget about the consequences attached to your name. Just you and me, all I need to be free. So Mr. Fairy Tale.
All right, hello everybody. My name's Gavin Tritt. I'm the executive director of Oberlin Shansi. I'm thrilled to welcome you to this virtual town hall. I'm seeing some familiar faces, some recent Shansi team members, some trustees. I'm really excited to have you all here with us this evening, or I think for some of you this morning, and even for some this afternoon. This is quite the global virtual town hall, and I want to thank everybody, including our visiting scholar alumni, current and former fellows. We've got parents of fellows, we've got OB alums, some friends and family. Thank you all for taking the time to join us. Before I jump into my introduction, let me tell you a little bit about the video that was playing as you joined us from the waiting room. This was a project by Sangeeta Ramanuj, a senior, that was funded by Chauncey under our AAPI Experience Grant program. The project she proposed, Fairy Tale, was to compose a song focusing on love, understanding, and transcending boundaries that would draw on her background as a classically trained Carnatic violinist. Very Oberlin. Sangeeta crafted an engaging fusion pop song that showcases the beauty but deep social challenges of interfaith love. I hope you enjoyed the snippet you were able to hear. You'll be able to see and hear the whole thing on our YouTube page when we get it up there. So tonight we have a very full agenda for you. Chauncey Senior Director Ted Samuel, Returned Fellow and Grants and Fellowships Coordinator Phoebe Von Conta, and I will update you on the status of Chauncey programs in Asia and in Oberlin. We'll leave some time for some discussion and questions and answers. We've had some that we even got in the registration forms. Thank you all for submitting those. And if you'd like, you can add questions to the chat at any time. We'll be monitoring those and trying to organize them as we go. So first, let me start off by saying the state of the association is strong. Sure, I know that sounds a little humorous and maybe a little dark in this time in our country, but I mean it. Our partnerships in Asia, including our newest programs, are running very smoothly. We are seeing outstanding applicant pools for our fellowships, grants, and visiting scholar awards. And we are very pleased with how everyone is performing in the field and here at Oberlin. And we're excited to be launching an important new program this year, which Ted will tell you about soon. So let me get us started with an update on our partnerships in Asia, and in particular, our Shansi Fellows program. As many of you alumni on the call know firsthand, and others have likely heard Ted or me on this on and on, these 2-year immersive experiences can be transformative. They help challenge beliefs, cultivate more open understanding, build professional skills, and nurture lifelong friendships. And for each fellow, they provide a foundation that they build on for a lifetime. The first of these Shansi fellowships was at the Mingshan School in China in 1918. In fact, one of our guests today, Robert Sherrill, and I think there was another person with the name Sherrill who registered also, is the son of one of those legendary Shansi fellows. We called them reps back in those days. Virginia Stark Sherrill made the trek to China in 1949. It's hard to imagine. She's part of a legacy that includes more than 480 Shansi fellows and reps since the program began. And while at Mingshan, one of her colleagues was the grandmother of a recent Chauncey Fellow and current trustee, Louise Edwards. So moving to see the links between generations within the Chauncey family. So traditionally, Chauncey Fellowships were about teaching and managing student activities at universities. In recent years, we've diversified and expanded the range of fellowship offerings at our 8 partner institutions in China, India, Indonesia, and Japan. Today, some fellows teach, but others work with environmental and peace-oriented non-governmental organizations, with the United Nations Agency, and in various non-teaching capacities at universities. They learn, contribute, share, and develop valuable professional skills. And of course, in their free time, they travel, pursue interests as diverse as learning instruments and volunteering with community organizations, and they have experiences that are life-changing for them and their partner communities. In China, we have 4 Shansi Fellows at Shansi Agricultural University, which is the successor to that Mingxian school that started it all, where they teach English to graduate students and English majors. They host extracurricular activities for students, like holiday bashes at their homes. And in their spare time, they work on their Chinese language skills, play sports like badminton and soccer with friends and students, find time to dance with local retirees. They've promised to never release the video of me joining one of those dance groups during my last visit there. They study pottery. Some recent fellows found a pottery studio in downtown Taegu and much more. And of course, they enjoy a ton of hot pot, barbecue, and Taigu's famous knife cut noodles. But when they miss home, it's time for burger night in Taegu. I hope you'll enjoy this short video of a Taegu Fellows night out.
The only American food I can think of in China is hamburgers. Actually, last night we ate hamburgers.
For my hamburger.
It's burger night in Taegu. Burger night.
We're gonna get fried mushrooms and hash browns.
I love it.
So what makes these burgers so special is that the boss here, he says his passion is in and out. So even though he's like never been to In and Out, we still think they're pretty. I'm not a Californian, but they're the Californians stand by that they're pretty like close to the real thing. And also he adds a little like Chinese twist, and he adds a layer of sesame paste, which is amazing.
So what do you have there? The mushrooms?
Fried mushrooms.
Oh,
All
that looks
kinds
so
of
good. Enokis and what else?
Gnocchis, oyster mushrooms, other kinds that I don't know.
Oh yeah, they come with gloves.
They come with gloves.
Oh yeah,
The burgers come with gloves? Tell me more.
Disposable gloves that you can you don't have to wash your hands.
All right, first bite. Is it as good as In and Out?
It's just as good.
Do you agree, sir?
He wants.
If you like this one, and I did, I'm getting a little hungry, I encourage you to check out our YouTube channel for more Shansi content. We're focusing on highlighting a lot of different things now, but especially the experiences and joys and challenges of Shansi folk in our Moments of series. And these are little short videos that, like this one, really try to draw out some story and some experience that's been really impactful for Shansi Fellows. And I really want to shout out to Ted Samuel, who among his many important roles at Shansi is our cinematographer and director of photography par excellence. He captures these wonderful moments for our editors to knit together. Maybe we'll not get him nominated for an Oscar in the coming years. But these great recent videos really are a great vehicle for our fellows to share slices of their lives, just like they do on Instagram. I'm going to touch on a few of our sites here, but I could relate similarly fascinating stories and experiences for any of our fellows. For example, Japan fellow Risa Betty, who is a double degree student focusing on chemistry, where she won a faculty award, and interdisciplinary voice, very much an Oberlin student. Risa sings at jazz clubs in Tokyo when she's not in the classroom at JF Oberlin University. And I pulled out a short clip from her Moment of Brilliance video that we made, singing at the All of Me Club in Roppongi.
My very best, I set you free. I wish you shelter from the storm. Close goodbye to
Sorry, slippy fingers. We're getting a glimpse of Shansi life in India. The video of Madurai Homecoming shows Donnie Harris at American College reigniting a partnership that was dormant for nearly 15 years. And I know we've got a couple of American College alumni on this call, and many of the alumni have helped support our efforts to get the American College partnership started, including, I think, our uh, gracious host Paul Jayakar, who is on this call as well from American College. But Donnie's done an outstanding job there, starting the Oberlin Shansi Center, acting as a resource for students and faculty, and also working with the Study Center for Indian Literature and English and Translation, a longtime partner of Shansi, even during the dormant years. And this picture here is a picture with Phoebe, who you'll hear from later, who was then the fellow at Lady Doak College, and some members of Skillet, including the legendary Premilla Paul. Another video, a moving moment of reflection from Hiroshima, reminds us of the power of memory and wonder of renewal as you walk among the atomic bomb survivor trees in Hiroshima with Nasreen Azimi, who is one of the co-founders of Green Legacy Hiroshima, and our fellow Ben Etchikson at the time. This video and the work of Green Legacy is an important reminder, especially in this solemn 80th anniversary year of the atomic bomb, and a year when the world honors the survivors of the atomic bomb and their organization Nihon Hidankyo, which was awarded the 2024 Nobel Peace Prize. As so many of you know too, our partnerships are mutual by design and by intent, and the Visiting Scholars Program reflects this commitment. We welcome young faculty to Oberlin, where they explore new teaching pedagogies and approaches. They undertake research and write papers. They find professional development opportunities like attending conferences, and they enjoy traveling in the US to experience what life is like here. And they share their lives and experiences with the Oberlin community. Phoebe's going to give you a glimpse of the lives of the current visitors from China, India, Indonesia, and Japan. It's a full house at Shansi House this semester. And you can check out one of our other videos, the moment of indulgence from last year's crew enjoying frozen custard at Krieg's in Vermilion. It's become a Shansi tradition, reflective of Ted's particular passion for Krieg's, one I endorse strongly. One of the important things to me about the Visiting Scholars Program is how intent they are to find ways when they get home to make contributions at their institutions and in their communities that reflect what they absorbed and learned here at Oberlin. And a great example for me is Dinero, who is from the economics faculty at Chakwal University in Banda Aceh. After working with the entrepreneurship program during his time here at Oberlin, Dinero returned home and was tasked with overseeing new income generating programs at the university. I think we all know the pressures universities in the US and everywhere face to generate more resources. Well, Dinero has done a great job so far. And when I was there on my last visit, really enjoyed seeing how the university cafes and snack shops had really been upgraded and turned into profitable businesses as well. I'm going to stop the screen share for a moment and prepare to turn you over to the next speaker. I want to invite Phoebe von Kanten now, our Grants and Fellowships Coordinator and Returned Fellow, to give you an update on what's been happening here at Oberlin. So Phoebe, take us away.
Thanks, Gavin. Hi, everyone. It's nice to see some familiar faces and also many new faces. I'm Phoebe. I graduated from Oberlin in 2022, and I did my Shansi Fellowship at Lady Doak College in Madurai, in India soon after. I returned in 2024, and I've been working for Oberlin Shansi as the Grants and Fellowships Coordinator, also known as the Return Fellow, ever since. The last time Shansi had a town hall, I remember that I had registered, but I couldn't attend because I was in India. Shout out to the fellows that are on and are doing their fellowships right now. I respect you. I did not come, and instead I submitted a video that highlighted the first few months of life there. But this time I'm excited to appear live to share more about our on-campus programming over the past 9 months. So Ted and I hit the ground running in August, where we tabled at the Resource Fair, the Connections Fair, the Winter Term Fair, and the Study Way Fair. At those fairs, we increased our mailing list and connected with everyone from first years to double degree, fifth year students. Then in September, we began to spread the word about our grant and fellowship programs in our classes, ultimately visiting over 45 classrooms across 22 disciplines. We hosted 13 info sessions for our grants and fellowship programs, including sessions collaborating with PRISM, the Bonner Center, International Education Week, and Parents Weekend, reaching over 80 participants. We also conducted over 50 one-on-one advising grant and fellowship sessions with students. And we had In Asia grantees from summer 2024 present their work, which culminated in a hula workshop in collaboration with Indigenous Student Council, also a performance of the Mongolian Murinkur at Shansi House. Both of those you can see in the photos here. On the upper right, you can see the hula workshop, and on the lower right, you can see the performance of Murinkur. We also had an original music composition, which you heard earlier at the beginning of this event, which highlighted interfaith love, mixing Western and Carnatic violin. This year, we've awarded 5 In Asia grants for winter and for summer term, including a grant to Japan to conduct a micro internship at A&T Hiroshima and a project at a school in Pakistan connecting women and liberal arts from Oberlin to Lahore. We awarded 2 AAPI experience grants this year, resulting in the composition of the composition you heard earlier, and an archival project capturing the heritage of Oberlin College Taiko. We have been busy processing our Shansi Fellowship applications this year, with applicants spanning a diverse range of ages, background, majors, and passions. And while we won't be sharing our new fellows with the community for a few more weeks, it's worth noting that we had over 31 applicants, and candidates were among our most competitive that Shansi has seen in recent years. So please stay tuned for more about that, which will come soon. And as we move on to Shansi House updates, there is a lot to share, a lot that's going on campus. So in the fall semester, Shansi sponsored 2 campus projects. These include a community screening made possible by the Tibetan nonprofit Machik, and we also had a Dia painting night for Diwali, which was in collaboration with South Asian Students Alliance and the Multicultural Resource Center. Shansi House also hosted Korean Student Association's kimchi making night, as well as Quaker student meetings, which happen on Sundays. Finally, as visiting scholar programs continue to ramp up, we are excited to be hosting 4 scholars in the house. So our friend Chao from Beijing Normal University in China is finishing her 2nd year here at Shansi House, working as a Chinese language instructor. Our Japanese language instructor, Naoko, is here. She's been here throughout the year. And our more recent visiting scholars include Novita Sari, who's a psychology professor from Banda Aceh, Indonesia, who will finish her semester here in May. And we also welcomed Helena Prey Samuel, who's an English professor from Lady Doe College in India, who will be joining us for a semester as well. Novita and Hilala have jumped headfirst into life at Oberlin, attending classes and exco courses while getting to know the campus better through the new e-bus system, which we didn't have when I was a student. It's been very cool to explore that coming back. As a house, we've been busy celebrating the holidays, cultural festivals, and more recently having dumpling making nights. Life at the house has been very food oriented, with WhatsApp messages including invitations to take an extra slice of cake or fruit or a treat that someone has decided to bake and leave in the table downstairs. As a final plug, I'll just make sure to remind folks to follow us on Instagram, and look out for more about our next staff and scholar takeover, to see a sort of a closer look at life here. And I'll now pass things off to Ted.
Thank you, Phoebe. Thank you. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Ted Samuel, and I serve as the Senior Director of Oberlin Shansi. And I am thrilled to share some of the new programs and initiatives that Shansi is taking on in the coming year. First, I'd like to officially announce the launch of the Visiting Artists and Practitioners Program, which will begin on March 21st of this year. Working with our newest partner, Keystone Foundation, which is based in the Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve in South India, we sought to create international exchange opportunities for Indigenous or Adivasi artists and community organizers. This year, we have invited 2 Adivasi musicians and 1 Adivasi community-based researcher from the Irula tribe to Oberlin for a 16-day residency. They will give lectures and performances that explore the intersection between Adivasi music and the natural environment that surrounds them, the ways that music and art galvanized efforts of cultural preservation and social mobilization, and the roles that women play in preserving Irula cultural expression. But don't take my word for it. Anoka Venugopal, one of our Shansi fellows at Keystone, who I believe is on this call, prepared a short trailer for the program.
பேர் கண்ணன் கண்ணன். நான் வந்து கரிக்கூர் கிராமத்தில் இருக்கேன். அரக்கோடுங்கிறது பார்த்திங்கன்னா நீலகிரி டிஸ்ட்ரிக்டில் இருக்குது. ஸோ நீலகிரி டிஸ்ட்ரிக்டில் வந்து நாங்கள் ஒரு இர்லா ட்ரைப்னு சொல்லிட்டு இருக்கோம். ஸோ இந்த இர்லா ட்ரைபில் வந்து நமக்கு ட்ரெடிஷ்னலாக மியூசிக் இருக்குது. இந்த ட்ரெடிஷ்னல் மியூசிக் வந்து பார்த்திங்கன்னா ஃபாரஸ்ட்லேருந்து வர சவுண்டு தான் வந்து அதிகமாக நாங்கள் ஃபோக்கஸ் பண்ணுறோம். ஸோ அங்கே இருக்க அனிமல்ஸ், அப்புறம் அந்த பேர்ட்ஸ், அதோட சாங்ஸ், அதை வச்சு தான் நம்ம வந்து மியூசிக் வந்து ப்ளே பண்ணுறோம்.
So, in addition to the lectures and performances that our guests have prepared, we are planning some fun and meaningful engagement opportunities with communities and organizations here in Northern Ohio. We are in the process of setting up a special tour at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and are reaching out to community partners in Lorain County, including public schools, Indigenous peoples organizations, arts nonprofits, Kendall at Oberlin, and more to ensure that our guests from South India can engage with a range of communities. We want the impact of this artistic exchange to extend well beyond the Oberlin bubble. In these times especially, we are committed to promoting intercultural exchange and mutual understanding as broadly as possible. I cannot stress enough how excited we are for this residency, which has been 3 years in the making. The program is among the first of its kind. For decades, Shansi's Visiting Scholars Program has been core to our mission and has anchored our commitment to multi-directional exchange opportunities. While we intend for the Shansi Visiting Scholars to remain a mainstay of our work, we have recently been considering how we can expand our own definition of expertise. This program has the potential to disrupt Eurocentric modes of thinking about art and social change. By engaging in dialogues with genuine experts, in this case, Indigenous musicians, whose experiences and ways of knowing have been historically overlooked, we hope to promote new venues for meaningful collaboration. We are happy to report that Shansi, in collaboration with Oberlin College and Conservatory, was able to secure an external grant from Asia Network to fund a portion of the exchange. As we consider future iterations of the Visiting Artists and Practitioners program, we appreciate the support that we're getting from the college and conservatory, our local and international partners, and now external organizations that believe in the vision that we have proposed. If you'd like more information about the Visiting Artists and Practitioners program, or will be in Northern Ohio in late March and early April and would like to see the schedule, please feel free to contact us directly. The other main initiative that I want to discuss today pertains to you, members of the Shansi community. Over the past 5 years, we've been exploring new avenues of building community online. We have deepened our engagement on various social media platforms, most notably our Instagram, which Phoebe mentioned earlier, which is almost completely driven by our fellows in the field through regular takeovers. We also produce video content like what you saw earlier in this presentation, and we have restarted our newsletter. While we take pride in all of this, we wanted to hear from you all directly about the ways that you want to hear from us and the ways that you want to engage with us. Because of this, we released the Shansi Community Engagement Survey, which we first distributed via email last fall. So far, we have gotten 68 responses, and based on this initial set of data, we've noted the following from our community. Respondents noted that they would like to see a class notes section of our newsletter, where they can provide life updates to members of the Shansi community in their own words. So if we can go to the next slide. So, for example, when former Shansi Fellow and board member Daniel Tam Claiborne launches his new book, Transplants, on May 13th of this year, he can write you a note and tell you all about it in this section of our newsletter. And Daniel, I'm not sure if you're on this call, but congratulations. We're excited to read this. So, if you go to the next slide, our community also expressed the need for more in-person gatherings, which could include regional mixers, film screenings, and shared meals. With a small staff based in Oberlin, it might be a little harder for us to facilitate this directly across the country and around the globe, but we are looking out for volunteers who can help us spearhead these events. Some respondents requested more online panels, webinars, and country-specific conversations. I'm happy to report that we've already started with some of this, having hosted an online gathering for our India alumni last October. Over the coming year, we plan to host separate community conversations for our alumni who have expertise in China, Indonesia, Japan, and Taiwan. And finally, we have heard from several alumni that they would like to see a stronger Shansi presence on LinkedIn. I'm going to touch on this a little bit more in a minute, but please know that you have asked and we are responding. Just to be clear, we do not consider the Shansi Community Engagement Survey to be closed. We are still soliciting responses and would love to hear from more of you. We are dropping a link to the survey in the chat, and we'll be sure to include a link in a follow-up email to all of the registrants early next week. But in light of these survey results, I'd love to share some ways for you all to maintain your engagement with Oberlin Shansi. First, follow us on LinkedIn. We have redone our main page and are beginning to post some of the content that we've been creating and curating. If you know of a job opportunity that would be of interest to our alumni community, please feel free to share it with us or tag us. We are hoping to make our LinkedIn an online professional hub for the Shansi and Oberlin communities. We also want its presence to become as robust as our Instagram and other social media platforms. Next, consider volunteering for Oberlin Shansi. In particular, our alumni mentorship program is a great way to help young Shansi alumni jumpstart their careers. Recently, Sydney Jarvis, who is on this call, an alum who concluded her fellowship in Banda Aceh in 2020, started a new position thanks to the Shansi Alumni Network and a connection through fellow Aceh alum Jesse Gersten. Sydney shared that her new role is a culmination of a lot of her passions, including community development, climate justice, and working directly with people. You can see how to join the Alumni Mentorship Program and also view other Shansi volunteer opportunities on our website. And we'll drop the link to the volunteer page during the Q&A portion of this meeting. And finally, I want to remind you to follow us on YouTube and Instagram. We are filling our YouTube page with curated film content that allows you direct access to the stories and experiences of our fellows, grantees, and visiting scholars. And the pinnacle of our social media will always be our Instagram. You can see images, videos, and updates directly from our fellows' phones to your feeds. And now I'm going to turn it over to Gavin, who will talk about more ways to engage and give.
Thank you, Ted. What a great review of how far we've come with our efforts to build stronger, what I started to call after fellowship service and support. I really appreciate how generous our community has been with volunteering and mentoring time. When we did a survey on this about 4 years ago, Ted and I were just overwhelmed by how many alumni responded and how many volunteered to join the mentoring network. So I appreciate how generous the community has been, and I encourage current, recent fellows, or any fellow alumni to take advantage of these opportunities to network. So before we move on to the last segment, celebrating some of the loves of Shansi lore that we promised, I want to make a plea. I want to make a plea for your financial support. Shansi depends on donations from our generous community of alumni and friends to enable us to strengthen current programs, introduce new opportunities like Ted was talking about, and broaden access to Shansi programs here at Oberlin and among our Asian partners. Many of you on this call have been strong and continuing supporters, and for that we are so grateful. For everyone, though, I hope you can consider starting a giving program with us or showing your support this year, or growing, I should say, growing as well as showing your support this year. And there's a lot of different ways to give to Shansi, all on our website. You can make a one-time or set up a recurring gift online or send a check by mail. There are other ways to give as well. You can give gifts of appreciated stock or set up a qualified charitable distribution, a QCD from your IRA, a great way to reduce income, reported income. Both are wonderful tax advantage opportunities to give. And of course, we can also receive gifts from donor advised funds. So please reach out to Ted and me if you have any questions. Thank you for your support of Shansi. It is so meaningful to us. It's deeply appreciated. All right, for the love of Shansi, we put out that plea, in our invitation to this town hall. It's the day before Valentine's Day, and we included that request that anyone willing to share of Shansi, a tale of Shansi connected love would be welcomed. And we know that throughout our history there have been powerful stories of love and friendship, from reps who married before leaving for Asia, to romances that blossomed in Asia or during orientation, even to even some post-Shansi discoveries of love. And a few of you sent in stories, and we want to wind up by recognizing them here. I'm going to start with Tom Gold, who told us that during his second year as a rep in Taiwan, Oberlin started a Chinese language program at Dunghai, and he met Lucy Harris, a student from Brown. It was a slower blooming romance, though, as they didn't interact much in Taiwan, but met up again after both started the same master's program at Harvard. And even then, they only began dating after graduation. So admirable patience and a glorious love story. And you can see Tom and Lucy there with, I guess that's the Dunghai Chapel in the background during a later visit. We would need another hour probably to do justice to the platonic and romantic affections of the elders and Spidels, well documented in Shansi's centennial book. But Mark Elder, a Shansi rep in Indonesia from 1978 to 1981, gives us a glimpse here. There's the 70-year marriage of John and Ann Elder, who were in Japan in 1953, Shansi's first there, and the 67-year marriage of Bill and Elena Spidel. Bill was in Taiwan in 1957 and many times later, including with Shansi. And the friendships between the families brought Mark and Kiki into contact at different times of their youth. But as Mark says, after reconnecting at Oberlin's 1995 commencement and subsequently joining our two Shansi families together in 1997, we have added to the count of Shansi romances across time and cultures. Mark Meredith, who's also, I think, on this call, a Shansi Fellow at JF Oberlin University from 1987 to 1989, shared his story with us as well. Mark met his wife Kyoko here at Oberlin, where they were together for 3 years before embarking on the journey to Machida, where he took up his post as a fellow. Their daughter Leah was born while he was a fellow, adding to the roster of Shansi babies. I believe I've had several people tell me that they were born as Shansi fellows, active Shansi fellows. Sadly, Mark and his family lost Kyoko to cancer almost 5 years ago. We appreciate his sharing these photos. You can see here from their time together as young married Shansi folk, and more recently when he and his children visited Japan to see Kyoko's parents, her 6 siblings, their spouses, and the 8 other grandchildren in this extended Shansi family, who I'd like to think of it. We're grateful to Mark for sharing the story and giving us the opportunity to honor Kyoko's memory among the Shansi community. So thank you, Tom, Mark, and Mark, for sharing these stories with us. And I'm going to throw it back to Ted to share some more Shansi love before we go to discussion.
We will start discussion soon. Thank you, Gavin. It is my honor to share the next Shansi love story featuring the current chair of our Board of Trustees, Sarah Newman, and her partner, Elizabeth Rogers, who is a professor in Oberlin College's Creative Writing Department. Sarah and Beth met at Shansi Orientation in 2007 before their respective fellowships to Banda Aceh and Taegu, China. The rest is history. Sarah and Beth currently live in Oberlin with their two beautiful children, Newman and Sally. And I would like to share our last Shansi love story. Not that these are the only ones, but these are the ones that were shared with us. Shanti Elder, the daughter of Joe and Joanne Elder, shared these photos of her parents. And Joe and Joanne were two of the first three Shansi reps to India in 1951. They pioneered a new chapter in Shansi's history as the first reps to serve outside of China. They have also been amazing mentors and friends to generations of students, young professionals, and members of the Shansi community who began their careers in South Asia. And with that said, I do want to acknowledge that with love comes loss. The Shansi staff and I would want to take a moment to honor Joe Elder, who passed away late last month. His impact on Shansi and the entire field of South Asian studies was profound. Personally, I can attribute much of my life and my career path to Joe's influence. Long before I worked for Shansi, I met Joe as an undergraduate student who wanted to study abroad in India and learn Tamil, the language of my parents. I can thank Joe for helping me become the professional and the person that I am today. And I know so many people in the Shansi community who can say the same. So we will miss you. But with that said, we do want to take some time to open up the floor to questions to you all. So feel free to type questions about Shanti's current programs or future directions. You can ask them in the chat or let us know if you'd like to ask a question out loud.
Thank you, Ted. And I do want to recognize that Joe's brother Dave Elder, another Shansi rep in his own right, is with us on the call today. It's good to see you again, Dave. We had a few who came in the among the RSVPs. So while you're all collecting yourselves and thinking about questions, I could respond to maybe the first one that's was expecting a question like this, and I want to do it justice. So I'm going to pull it up on my screen here. I'm going to stop the sharing as well. And that was a former China fellow, Jacob Teeter, asked about, China and, what role is Shanxi playing in fostering constructive interactions between scholars in the U.S. and China in this challenging time? How should this evolve to foster the values that many students, faculty, and staff at Oberlin cherish? That's a great question. And, and especially in light of what's been happening in this country over the last month, it's and a lot of things that we here in Oberlin and at Shanxi are thinking about in terms of what our mission is all about during these challenging times. I think it's really important. And what I always tell people in response to this is that I think as the times get tougher and more challenging, it becomes that much more important for organizations like ours to double down on our work, to remain as committed and as dedicated as we can be to this person-to-person exchanges that is the core of Shanxi's work. Personally, it really resonates for me. As some of you know, I spent 2 years in China doing something like a Shanxi Fellowship from 1988 to 1990. So I experienced the nadir really of U.S.-China relations after Tiananmen. At the time and to this day, I feel it's that much more important that organizations like ours remain as committed as possible. Um, I will say that the issues around scientific exchange have limited to some extent, I think, the possibilities for visiting scholar type exchanges with scientific faculty at Shanxi Agricultural University, given the stances in um, this country from the U.S. government that I would anticipate will get even stronger in the coming months and years under this administration. But that doesn't mean we don't have opportunities to welcome, as we hope to expand our visiting scholars efforts to re-include Shanxi Agricultural University and JF Oberlin University in the coming years. But between people involved in foreign exchange, in the English instruction, and some of the humanities work that happens to complement the agricultural sciences work at Shanxi Agricultural, we look forward to finding ways to, create openings and opportunities for this mutual exchange. So, Jacob, I don't know if he's still on the call. That's kind of what we've been thinking about. Ted, did you want to add anything on that? Anyone want to jump in? Any questions? Click that whole raise your hand thing. then we'll know. Be
Hi, Maisie. Will anyone be at AAS next? It is in Columbus, so we will try to at least stop by and try to have coffee with as many people as possible. Thank you for that question. AAS is the Association for Asian Studies.
yes, association. Yeah, and there's usually an informal get together for Shansi and Oberlin connected folk, and we'll try to help facilitate that this year again. Um, any other questions? We did have a question among the registrants about reunions, and you know, as you might have noted in our conversation in our presentations earlier, Shansi is trying to facilitate Zoom-based reunions. We had a really nice call with India alumni a few months ago. Some of you who are on that call are here with us today, and it inspired Ted and me to think that this is something we need to do in the coming year, especially for Taiwan alumni, many of whom have remained so committed to Shansi. But you know, there's less discussion of Taiwan, obviously, although we have had some recent activity there with some in Asia grants awarded for people to go to Taiwan. Ted visited on his way back from China a few months ago and had lunch with a couple of Shansi in Asia Grant alumni who were there, and a fellowship alum, Evan Dawley, who's doing work there. And as some of you may know, a Shansi fellowship alum, Randy Nadeau, who was one of the first group that returned to China in 1980 when the relationship resumed. Randy is the Fulbright director in Taiwan. So the Shansi stamp remains firmly embedded in Taiwan's identity, and we definitely try to stay as involved as we can, especially as the Oberlin College East Asian Studies Department has forged some relationships there, including with National Central University. A lot of opportunities to engage around Taiwan, and we look forward to updating the alumni group when we schedule a Zoom soon. I think the observation too was that there's less opportunities because Oberlin has really shifted how they do reunions. And I think everyone on campus in that side has been trying to work things out. After the pandemic, we did resume doing Shansi breakfasts in person. So for the last 2 years, we've had in-person Shansi breakfasts, but as some of you who may be following this stuff know, the reunions have been smaller, so the Shansi breakfasts have been a little bit smaller. I think we've had, instead of 100 plus people, we've had 60 or so there, because there are just fewer alumni coming to these reunions. But for the new fellows and their families and their friends, it's still a fun event, and one that helps them really help to build a sense of community, and for their families to help really understand a bit of what kind of organization, what kind of history they're kind of jumping into here. And I think it's really pretty inspiring and hopefully reassuring for them to see that.
I saw a question from Mark Meredith about precedents of alumni fellows, past fellows doing independent projects in conjunction with Shansi. Are these opportunities available? I think there are a lot of informal ways that our alumni are really engaging with our fellows. We've seen a resurgence of India alumni going back to India and reconnecting with fellows and learning more about our new partner organizations and considering ways to collaborate for sure. We are always happy to put people in touch with fellows in the field. And whenever Gavin and I are making a site visit, you know, we can always let people know that there are possibilities to see what's going on. We have no problem putting you in touch with people in Asia, especially if you're a member of our network. We want to make sure that we open that network up to everybody. So, Mark, let's have a conversation sometime if you have something in mind. I would love to hear what you're thinking.
We do. I mean, everybody hopefully on this call knows it isn't just East Asian Studies fellows that end up as East Asian Studies majors that end up as Shansi fellows. We've had a number of economics majors in recent years, Mark, and I bet there would be some who would be very interested in getting to know you too and seeing if there are opportunities to work together. Um, Thank you for sharing that.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Phoebe, were there any other questions coming up in the chat?
Oh, we have a question from Paul. How do you help returning reps with finding more opportunities? So I will say that as the alum of 3 international fellowship opportunities, I think this is something that all fellowships kind of struggle with because there's a clear end date. And I think, there tends to be a little bit of a mindset of I'll let the fellowship end and then I'll figure out my life. And that's not always how the job market works. So we really do try to have intentional conversations with our senior fellows or second year fellows a little earlier to just get them to do small things like, why don't we see an updated resume or something like that? We always offer support for looking at resumes. And we also do try to point them to Oberlin College's career development services as well. But more often than not, it is just Gavin and I looking at resumes. It is Gavin and I looking at cover letters. But I do think that, the Alumni Mentorship Network really is a valuable opportunity. And we brought up Sydney Jarvis, who's on this call. Hi, Sydney. As one of a stellar example of that. But in this year alone, there have been multiple connections that have been made, which have led to sometimes short-term or long-term opportunities. I think, but yeah, making sure that we're having intentional conversations about this earlier in the fellowship rather than when people just leave is something that I wish fellowships I had participated in had done, which is why we are trying to make that happen with Shansi more intentionally.
Yeah, I have a question. Hi, everybody. I'll just jump in. Voice. Good to see everybody. I heard Phoebe mention the Quaker group is still meeting in the Shansi House, which is great. It's like such a calming space for Quaker meeting. And I'm wondering if you guys have talked about like opening the space up for like more student groups, or if you've gotten interest from other student groups since ones that I've heard about. I don't know if Phoebe wants to talk about it because she might see the Quaker group come in more often, or Ted or Gavin. Thanks.
Thanks for that question, Sydney. I'll just mention quickly that the more people that come into the house for the first time, the more suggested events come up. And so when we were having our I'll give one example. When we're having our open house for our fellowship programs, one student came to work on his application and left planning to host mahjong nights in Shansi House, which has yet to happen this semester, but is in the works. Another example is a group of students came to watch Mayuka perform her Morinkur performance that she had prepared from her in Asia grant in Mongolia. And after her presentation, she, brought up the fact that she's working on this student group for traditional instruments at Oberlin and asked if maybe she could use the space. So we have some potentials for this semester. And those are only a few examples. I'll say one more thing. We've also recently hosted the Oberlin book club in the Shansi space, which has been a great way for campus staff to find out how to get to Shansi House. Some folks have been working at Oberlin for more than 10 years and had never been to Shansi House, and that was a really exciting way to kind of spread the word.
Sidebar, Morinkur is the horsehead fiddle of Mongolia. So it's a fascinating instrument, and I love that it's called the horsehead fiddle. Yes, Paul.
Hi, everyone. Very happy to meet quite a lot of people online. Sydney, Phoebe, David, Dex, and so many, friends connecting to past about 30, 40 years of Oberlin Shansi Connect. I would like just to inform you that we recently had Thomas Hitoshi Prixma, a former Oberlin Shansi fellow at the American College between 98 and 2000, who recently was awarded an award from the Tamil Nadu government for his work on translation from Tirukkural to English, Tamil to English. So we used that opportunity to connect Oberlin Shansi and the American College, Madurai. So we quickly planned for an international conference, and he was the keynote speaker who spoke so beautifully on how translation could be done, what are the problems? There are quite a lot, as many of you would have learned Tamil, but to translate even a word would be very difficult. For example, it's very green. If you translate, it's bayangara pachayarki, but it's a green line. You keep on saying it, pacha poyin solran Tamil. Anyway, it was quite a interesting conference, and Donnie and Karis, both of them spoke in the conference, and it was a great connect between the Oberlin Shansi and Madurai. So I was thrilled to have that in our college. So just want to share with you. Thank you.
Thank you for waking up so early in the morning, Mother Eye time, to join us, Paul. We appreciate that.
It's always a pleasure to be with
Paul is an alum of our visiting scholar program. He's a professor of English and runs the postgraduate department at American College, and he's the dean for international exchange. So he was the one who worked closely with Ted and me to really craft this reigniting of the Shansi partnership with American College. So we're deeply grateful to you, Paul, and for your hard work and your support for Donnie and Karis and Phoebe during their time in Madurai. Thank you so much.
He's also a famous chef
very
in Madurai.
We are mutually very grateful from the American College to Gavin, Ted, Phoebe, Donnie, and Karis, Sydney, and quite a lot of people, to make this resumption happen true. Thank you.
I will say, just as a little comment, I mean, to me, one of the things that makes Shansi experiences so special, and Ted talked about differentiation from some other opportunities, is people like Paul, who for generations of Shansi people, and Paul and his father, who was the principal of American College, who've welcomed generations of Shansi fellows and reps into their homes, in Paul's case, cooked for them, celebrated with them, supported them. And I think in every Shansi site, we can find those people. Even in our most recent sites in Hiroshima and in the Nilgiris with Keystone Foundation, those kinds of people have emerged over 4 or 5 years. People who are dedicated to helping make sure Shansi fellows are safe, supported. And I think for every one of you alumni here, there are probably people you can remember who made your experience so special. So, Paul, maybe just on behalf of all of them, you can accept our thanks. But I think it's been a really defining aspect of what the Shansi Fellowships are all about and these partnerships are all about. Sorry.
Ruby had a question. How have we been adapting to changing conditions and preparing fellows to be bridge builders in fragmented times? And how can the Shansi community help in that work? Oh my gosh, Ruby, that's such a good question. And it's a very big one. I think right now we are still learning how to adapt to changing conditions, even though we are what I would call a nimble organization. During COVID times, we had to figure things out, and after we are still figuring things out. One of the things that we did is right after the election, we don't presume to know our fellows' politics, but we have a good idea. We ended up having just a community conversation on Zoom. We were leveraging the power of technology, and we had fellows from all of our sites in all different countries just get together and just we wanted to use it as an opportunity to, talk, to vent if they wanted to vent, or to ask questions. And what that conversation ended up being was a reminder that our fellows are so resilient. They are so incredible, and they are solving problems better than I could at that age. I'll tell you that much. So I think that this is an ongoing conversation that we need to have as to how the Shansi community can be leveraged into this work. But I think that just their day-to-day engagement with people in order to be able to show not the United States writ large, but like a specific slice of the United States, and to let people know that the United States is a very diverse and rich country, just like the countries in which they are working. I think that that's going to be really important. And we use the word friendship a lot, like life-changing friendships, lifelong friendships, but we don't use that word lightly. I think that the connections that Shansi Fellows make really do last a lifetime. And I think that those are going to be even more important as we consider what is yet to come.
Very well put, Ted. I'll just add, I think everything that we think of and value in selecting fellows and that we see in our fellows and what they learn in Asia during their fellowships, it plays exactly into these questions, talking about resilience and adaptability as Ted did, and just learning about how relationships between people are so much different than relationships between governments. And I, throughout my career and life, and in watching Shansi Fellows in Asia too, have always been so happy to see how people on both sides are able to differentiate between what's happening between Washington and Beijing or Washington and Jakarta versus what's happening between two people sitting around a coffee shop, and getting to know each other. And I think people in all the countries where we work and all around the world are able to differentiate between those things more effectively than we might imagine. So I think this is going to be a big topic for us in orientation of new fellows this year, Ruby, because I do think our fellows are going to face more challenges like this on the ground, but it's something we're always looking to advance.
I think we have time for one more question, and I saw one from Mark. I was wondering if Phoebe could take it. Shansi House,
Yeah.
tell me more.
Shansi House. Well, I'm actually here in Shansi House right now. We're at 58 East College, so now we're across the street from Slow Train. Just got a new
God knows slow training.
sign. And it's huge. It's a big old house.
It's what was in your time, Mark, might have been the Women's Collective building. It was Mallory House for those of you from earlier years.
Yes, I remember Mallory House.
And Chauncey purchased the house in 2000 and undertook a big renovation. And part of the inspiration was that Asia House was being renovated, and the college in Chauncey at the time decided it would probably not be a good site for visiting scholars in the future to live. So that's sort of what led to that. So yeah, we're right next to the beautiful new Oberlin hotel at Oberlin, which those of you who haven't been back on campus in a while and were dreading coming to campus if you had to stay at the old inn can come back safely now. There's a beautiful new LEED Platinum certified environmentally friendly hotel that's very nice right next door.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Tom, did you have a question? I thought I saw your raise hand. Stray finger, stray click. Okay, well, thank you all for joining us today. I hope you felt it was a good use of your time on a Thursday evening or Friday morning or whatever it is in whatever time zone you're in. It really, Ted and I think you'd echo me in saying we're honored that so many people were able to join us, and it's exciting to see some new faces here as well among our alumni and family and friends. So thank you, and feel free to reach out with any questions you might have following up, and I hope we'll see you at reunions, Chauncey events in person, Chauncey events online. Thank you.
One more thing. If you ever want to have a one-on-one conversation or two-on-one conversation with Gavin and me, just for a quick update, 20 minutes, let us know. We'll be happy to schedule that. There are certain times of year where we have more time for it than others, but there's so many people in this community that we know well. There's so many that we are getting to know. So feel free to schedule some time with us and we'd be happy to chat.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.